Hey, everybody. Welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm Christy Brower, here with my co-host, sister, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie, welcome to the show.
Hello.
So excited to be here. We have a really, really cool, interesting show for you guys.
Yeah.
But first, as usual, we do a little check-in. So, Katie, how's it going?
It's going good. We've, wound down the Christmas festivities, and one kid has gone back home, and one kid has gone to work in Montana for the week, and so the house is quiet. We have a very bored puppy on our hands because her dad is gone working, and her cousin just left this morning, and she's been absolutely roughhousing nonstop all weekend between playing with Micah and playing with her cousin Buddha, Matea's dog. And yeah, so she's been bored and naughty tonight. She tackled my little old Chihuahua Skippy and knocked him on the floor so hard that he sprawled on his back and hit his head on the floor. So then we had to have a conversation about no. You don't get to do that to Skippy Jones, and he does not want to be your playmate. But so Pat was playing with her with a squeaky toy when I came in on the show because she really needs something to do. But
yeah, no kidding. Sounds like it.
But it's good. We took down the Christmas tree in the village and put everything up back in storage, and we have cleared this house. It feels so good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I need to do the same. I'm ready to get our Christmas tree out of here and
at some point the Christmas chaos it gets to me, and I just can't take it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I get very ready for it to just be over. I love January. January is a great quiet month, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. Hopefully this month. Well, I don't know. I kind of feel like January for us this year is going to be very busy. I think that True Crime Paranormal is going to be really busy, that we're going to have a lot going on. But
it will. That's true.
It's all good stuff, so no complaints here. But yeah,
it's all good, fun stuff. We love that.
We'll miss out on the sleepy January this year.
That's okay. I don't mind that side of it at all. No. I think it'll be totally worth it.
We'll take it.
I know you and I have been deeply down a rabbit hole on a case, and going to continue that. So I'm actually reading somebody's dissertation right now. That's like 275 pages long, if that tells you what kind of research we're doing. So yeah, you'll learn more about that next week.
6 hours in today, I finally went, okay, I need to set this aside and do other work. Yeah.
I know. I watched 2 documentaries today working on it as well. So yeah, I hear you. So don't worry. We started covering it already, yesterday's case, and we're going to be covering it much more deeply coming up. So
yeah, this is the masked case. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole. It really
is. It is, and it's very interesting. These religious zealot kinds of cases are religious extremism stuff. Very interesting for us.
For sure. Well, and just all the research. I mean, a lot of the cases that we do, the research is all essentially done. It's just a matter of finding it and
learning about it. Yeah.
Yeah, learning about it, regurgitating it. But in a case like this, it's fresh. It's brand new. Everyone's still scrambling to do that research as well as we are,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fun. I do enjoy that part of it. Learning
I do too.
Things. So yeah. We will get to that. But today, whenever you're listening to this, we had promised we did the Zodiac Killer last week, and we did read for who we feel the Zodiac Killer was. And we promised to do a show with some mediumship with the Zodiac Killer. So we're going to do that tonight. So I'm going to pose some questions to Katie, and she's going to give us the answers straight from the horse's mouth. So we'll start with that we are going to make contact with Ross Sullivan, who, has been one of the suspects of the Zodiac to be the Zodiac Killer. He is who we believe to be the Zodiac Killer. And so we're just going to ask some questions and see what we get. So Katie, let's start with asking Ross Sullivan if he in fact is or was the Zodiac Killer.
Okay. And I will say I made contact with Ross earlier today, just in preparation. I wanted to make sure I could, just what if he didn't want to talk?
Right.
And he did want to talk. He chuckled. He said, haha, yeah, I guess that's what you could call me. He's a weird guy. Even in death, he's a weird guy.
I would imagine so, considering some of the stuff he did. So, I guess let's start with the question that everybody always wants to know in these situations. Why? What motivated him to kill so many people?
He said, that's a complicated question, and I'll do my best to answer. The why, the first thing that came to me was boredom. There had to
Wow,
be more
okay.
to the world that I was living in. I was bored. I was one of those kids that might have been said too smart for their own good.
Mm.
Um, he says I had a learning disability on paper. I think he had dyslexia,
Yeah.
but that didn't stop my mind from constantly whirling. I never felt like I fit here. I always felt like I was supposed to be somewhere else.
Hmm.
Maybe not in this time or maybe even not in this world, but I didn't feel like I was a part of this place.
We've heard that from other serial killers. That's interesting.
But when I was a kid, even in grade school and middle school, family members would tease me. So, Ross, you got a girlfriend yet? And that led me to think that I was supposed to have a girlfriend. One problem, though, girls didn't like me. I couldn't say the right thing. I was always too much, too weird. Feel like he was like the weird kid that would like beat up girls on the playground to, get their attention, and then the teachers
Mm-hmm.
would be like, "Oh, honey, he just likes you," which is
Yeah, yeah.
was
Okay.
bullshit then and is bullshit now. But that's kind of he didn't know how to.
Right.
He said he didn't know how to make friends in general, but really didn't know how to connect to girls and felt like he was supposed to do that. I feel like a great deal of what he did in his life was, at least in the early part of his life, was trying to do the things you're supposed to do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, have the emotions you're supposed to have the response. Do the things you're supposed to do. And he
Right.
had the idea that you're supposed to have a girlfriend, that was a huge no-go for him because girls hated him. He was creepy and weird
Mm-hmm.
and he could never really get girls to connect with him very much. He said even girls that would talk to him for a while, he felt like it was only out of pity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go back. All right, so he says, he said that's some context. And I said, okay, well, that's fine and good, but that doesn't help me understand why you decided to start killing people and setting up this elaborate, the letters, the cryptographs. So
Yeah.
proud of the cryptographs,
Mm.
like literally
Mm-hmm.
being.
Wow.
He said, okay. He said, nobody really understood me anyway, so I figured I might as well do things my way.
Mm-hmm.
He said it felt good to outsmart the police
Mm.
and to
Yeah.
outsmart the researchers, he said. He said everybody that was scrambling to try and figure out his symbols and
Mm-hmm.
patterns. He said it felt good to be on top of that.
Sure.
I asked him about the cryptographs that have been broken, about the
Mm-hmm.
idea that he was gathering slaves for heaven, if he actually believed
Yeah.
that, if he did believe that.
Mm-hmm.
He said that was a game. He created a game that he was playing with himself.
Mm.
And part of the game was to gather your slaves.
Mm.
Other parts of the game were like the cryptograph to outsmart, to beat the authority.
Mm-hmm.
He said there were other parts of the game that people didn't even know they were playing, like walking down the street to get somebody to respond to him or to say something to him. Or he said, or to walk down the street and become invisible and not allow anyone to see you or talk to you.
Interesting.
He said, for many years, most of my life was spent playing the game. He said it was mostly in my head. I was constantly making up new rules, making it harder for me. And I guess you could say I created a fantasy land that I was living in.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, so that really does track with his illness.
So then I asked him, why actually kill if you're just playing the game?
Mm-hmm.
He said he didn't at first. He said he would kill in his head, but not actually kill.
Okay.
And then as he made the game harder for himself, it got harder to pretend. And then he needed to act it out, to start killing.
Mm-hmm.
He said he was really scared the first time. He said he thought it would be harder than it was.
Oh.
He said, but it actually wasn't hard.
Mm-hmm. Was
And
Sherry Jo Bates his first murder?
was this the girl from the library?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He said he chose her because he had loved her from afar. He had a crush on her.
Mm-hmm.
And she had rejected him repeatedly. And something about that meant that she was winning the game.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And he had to essentially dominate her in order to get back on track.
Okay.
I mean, this was back when the game was like, passing people on the street, manipulating people, things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but because he had been rejected by her, she had taken his power. So he had to take it back.
Yeah. Okay.
I asked him why he stopped.
Mm-hmm. Or did he stop?
He did stop for a while.
Okay.
He said he didn't really feel like playing the game after a while, but had always planned on going back to it at some point. I asked him when he stopped killing, was he still playing the game? Like, was he still like playing the game with people on the street and things like that? And he said no. I wonder if this was at the point that he got some psychiatric help, because the game he stopped playing. He didn't have a need to play the game.
It could be. We don't have a great history. We know that he had some psychiatric hospitalization, and we know he'd been hospitalized before killing Sherry Jo Bates.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's kind of a gap in time from when he stopped killing to when he died. There were a few years in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I had wondered that as well, if he'd been in a psych hospital and had had some treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the game was part of his delusion.
I believe that's the case, because he said he didn't have the compulsion to play the game anymore.
Yeah.
He did say that he had dreamed about going back to the game at some point and surprising everyone by showing back up.
Surprising everyone. Okay. Interesting.
I asked him about the cryptographs. If, I said that you promised that your name is actually buried somewhere in the cryptographs. If they solved them, they would have your name. And I asked him if his name was actually there. And he said no. He said, not the name that you would recognize. So there is a name. If they ever solve them all, there is a name, but it's not his name. It's the name that it was his player name in the game.
Oh, interesting.
He should have been born like 3 decades later and been a video game programmer, you know?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
That's where this energy should have gone, not where it did.
Mhm. Not where it did. One question I wanted to ask him is, did he know that what he was doing was wrong?
Hmm. He said mildly. He said, not enough that it would keep me up at night. I didn't feel sad for the victims or anything. I knew that what society thought I was doing was wrong. But did it hurt my feelings? No.
Okay. Yeah.
I asked him why he targeted couples, like on Lover's Lane,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff,
What
because
I
that was
do.
most of what he did.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. He said, why should they be getting any when I'm not?
Yeah. That's what I thought all along too, that that was
Mhm,
kind of revenge for
mhm,
no girls being interested in him.
mhm. He said also, though, they were easy. They were so busy focused on themselves that they weren't focused on me. He said, remember,
Mm.
I wasn't a true killer. And I said, well, yes, you were. And he said, no, it's not like I was trained. It's not like I was an actual assassin. It's not like I was a military guy. I
Oh,
didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing the best I could. And they were easy targets to pick off.
okay. Makes
So I think
sense.
kind of a twofold there. Yeah.
Mhm. Makes sense. Does he know how many people he killed? Because that's an unknown.
Right. Because he told the police he killed 37. Or in one of his notes, he said he killed 37.
Right, yeah. But it's th they've never been able to attribute that many.
He didn't physically kill that many. No,
Okay.
no. He said he physically killed 7. The other 30 were spiritual deaths,
Okay, so, like, playing the game.
playing the game. Yep.
Gotcha. Because there are so many other deaths that have been maybe attributed to him, but nobody really knows for sure.
No, no. He said 7, he thinks, but the rest of them were, that he would playing the game. He said strangling the life out of them. So this was more of
Okay,
a pretend thing, in his dreams kind of thing.
gotcha. Okay. What does the symbol mean? The Zodiac Killer symbol that looks like crosshairs? That's what we've all called it. What does it
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
What did it mean to him?
He said he hated that it looked like crosshairs. That wasn't his intention.
Well, he
And
didn't do a lot of killing with a gun. He did, so I wondered why.
yeah, he hated that people said that. It wasn't what he meant. He said that was his power symbol.
His power symbol. Okay.
Oh, he says that was my name.
Oh, so this is how he saw himself identifying himself?
Mhm, mhm. He says it wasn't crosshairs and it made me mad. Every time I read that or saw somebody assume that, it made me mad because it wasn't
Mm,
that. That was my power. That was my name.
wow. Okay. He made a point of telling the police in his letters that he didn't he wasn't afraid to die, he wasn't afraid to go to the gas chambers. Was that true? Was he not afraid to be caught?
He says I must have been kind of afraid. I sure didn't come forward, did I?
Right.
And I said no. In fact, you kind of just stayed in hiding after the killing stopped. He said, of course, I was afraid. It was easy to say that in a note,
Yeah,
but much harder to face in person.
sure.
But I pointed out that he did some reckless things, you know. He did some things kind
Did?
of right under the nose of the police. He says he had to do that. That was part of the game. He said he had to do that. Uh, oh, he said I had to do that or else I would lose.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
It.
So I asked him, lose to who?
Yeah. Yeah. To
Like,
who?
who were you playing? He said kings. He said other kings and power players in my head. So this was all going on in his head. Yeah. But there
So
were other
hallucinatory
opponents
stuff.
that he said they would taunt him. They would get more power than him and he'd have to do something else to get his power back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I asked him if this was based on anything that he read or played as a kid or anything, and he didn't really have an answer for that.
You know, it just coming from a mental health standpoint, it's not terribly surprising. I mean, you know, for someone with schizophrenia to have a delusion like this, I mean, it's not that uncommon.
Yeah. Yeah. I asked him if he had any regrets.
Yeah.
He just kind of shrugged. He said, I don't know really how to answer that. I said, well, you killed people. You murdered people. Do you have regret about that? No, no, not really.
Wow.
I don't feel that from him at all. Indifference,
Mhm.
I think, is probably the best term.
Mhm. Hmm. Is there anything we should know that we haven't asked him?
Oh, good question. He said he did many more risky things than we know.
Mm.
Wow. He said having conversations with police officers.
Wow.
Um, something about the newspapers, too, walking past or into their buildings.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there were basically challenges, you know, that
Mhm.
would show up for him that then he had to follow through with. You guys, I'm sorry if you guys can hear if you can hear a puppy fighting with everyone in the house, that's what's happening out there. I
Okay.
don't know if you guys
I
can
also
hear
have a
it.
dogson who doesn't want to shut up, so same
Just a
same
night
problem.
for it. Okay.
Right.
Yep. Just asking him if there's anything else that we need to know. I asked him, do you understand now that this was mental illness? That these things weren't really happening? And he said, I do understand that clearly now, but at the time you couldn't have convinced me otherwise.
Yeah.
This was real, this was my world, and it was happening.
Mhm.
So I asked him, I said, but if that's the case, why didn't you talk about it more? You had colleagues, you had people around you that would have had no idea this is what was going on in your head. And he kind of looked at me sideways and said, I wasn't stupid. And then he said, that
He
besides,
was saying not to get caught.
right. And he said, besides, they weren't allowed to play the game.
Mhm.
Oh, he said, I didn't want anyone else playing the game. So I couldn't tell anybody. Wow.
Did he win the game?
He doesn't know. He kind of shook his head and said, I just kind of stopped playing.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, it's like it just kind of, the game kind of faded into non existence for him at some point.
That sounds like medication to me.
I know,
I
it
think
makes
you're
me
right
wonder
about
too. I asked him, if that was at a time when he received treatment, and he doesn't really have an answer for me. But he says he just
that.
didn't
He
feel
may
the
not be able to
compulsion to
connect
play
the two.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Was he surprised at the time that he did not get caught?
No. He said, "No, I wasn't supposed to get caught."
Mm, okay.
He said, "That would have ruined everything, but I wasn't supposed to get caught. I was supposed to be right on the edge of that, but never actually get caught."
Wow.
I think he would have been extremely surprised if he had gotten caught,
Mm-hmm.
because he wasn't supposed to get caught as far as
Right.
the game is concerned.
That's wild because even 50 years later, there's
Mhm.
no definitive proof that it was him even now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of to ask him that I haven't thought of?
Well, he had a comment. He said,
Mm.
"Why would anybody look at me? I was just some weird little guy that nobody liked or trusted, but probably didn't think that I was capable of committing crimes like that."
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's really the, you know, ding ding ding, right? I mean, that's the bell right there.
Well, the things he did were very bold, and he didn't
Mhm.
seem like a bold person.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I
Interesting.
mean, even unsuccessful in some of his, attacks.
Right.
Some of his victims lived
Mhm.
and lived to, like give descriptions of him and stuff. He wasn't like
Mhm.
the most successful killer ever.
Let's ask him about that, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm asking him, so in some of your attacks, some people lived. Did that hurt the game? Did that hurt you? He said, "Not really. The goal of the game was to carry out the attack, which I did do."
Mm.
No, he wasn't as bothered by leaving victims, witnesses as you might think,
Mm. Interesting.
especially because in those attacks, most of the time somebody did die.
Right. Right. They did.
And he said, really, killing one of them was enough.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Killing
Very
them, and
interesting.
then also the kind of toying with authorities in the various ways that he did. That was part of
Mhm.
the power. That was part of building power.
Sure. He certainly had it. I mean,
Mhm.
those that didn't do them any good. I mean, they weren't able to
Yeah.
find him due to those letters. I
Yeah.
mean, nowadays it would be completely different,
Yeah.
but then,
I don't think you could pull something like that off now.
mm, no, no, there's
Probably
no way that
not.
he wouldn't leave any forensic evidence or any trace of anything anywhere.
Right. It's likely that one or two shots into the game, the game would be over. Yeah.
Right. It would. Wow. That's a real look into a sociopath though. That no remorse,
Yeah.
no awareness that he'd done harm or wrong or, there's nothing in there about sorry for the victims or their families or, anything like that clearly.
No, he's pretty indifferent, just kind of deadpan about all of it. He's proud of the game. I mean, he's proud of the stuff he did because he was winning, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, one interesting note there. He said I had to be proud of me because nobody else really ever had been.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty
All right.
chilling.
Well, I guess in parting, I'll ask him if there's anything else he wants to add.
Sure.
No. No, he really, I mean, he said what he wanted to say, I think.
Okay.
Oh, he said at the time it was very gratifying to get the public attention and outcry. Now I'm bored of it. So he doesn't care. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you. That was
We'll
Ross
release
Sullivan,
him.
the
Yeah.
Zodiac Killer. Yeah. We'll let him go. But wow.
And his weird ass game too.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That was powerful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I am sure that people watching and listening to this are going to be fascinated by that conversation.
Yeah, he was interesting. Pretty forthcoming though, really. You know.
Well, clearly not ashamed.
Oh, nothing like that. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, folks, that's what we came here to do. So I don't know how to end that. Weird. If you would like to send us a case suggestion, which the Zodiac Killer was a case suggestion, so thank you for that. You can do that by going to truecrimeparanormalpodcast.com, and you can sign up for our mailing list, and you can also send us case suggestions by scrolling to the bottom of the page. If you would like a reading with Katie or with me, there are links on the page to go to where you can do that. Our Patreon is there. Our merch is there. We're going to be adding to the merch very soon.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ways to connect with us there. And we will be back Wednesday with another cold read.
Yeah.
And also Wednesday evening with our weekly case update.
Yes.
And then we will not be here for our Thursday psychic show because it's New Year's Eve. So we are going to celebrate sending 2020 out the door.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, and then we'll be
we
back.
don't have any fireworks anywhere.
I know. I wish we did. It's definitely that kind of New Year.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Well, we are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Thanks for being here with us, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Take care.